less than 2 months after Morant and Silver met to discuss a similar incident that resulted in an 8-game suspension. Here's Commissioner Adam Silver's reaction yesterday with our Malika Andrews.
We talked directly about the consequences first before we got to a subsequent potential to have done something wrong. We were very focused on the misconduct that was in front of us at the time. And frankly, most of our conversation was about how incredibly serious the first incident was of waving, a firearm on social media. Honestly, I was shocked when I saw this weekend that video. Now, we're in the process of investigating it, and we'll figure out exactly what happened to the best we can then. It's the video's a bit grainy and all that, but I'm assuming the worst, but we'll figure out, exactly what happened there.
Ja Morant released the following statement last night. "I know I've disappointed a lot of people who have supported me. This is a journey, and I recognize there is more work to do. My words may not mean much right now, but I take full accountability for my actions. I'm committed to continuing to work on myself." Chris, how hard should the NBA come down on Ja?
Very. Words are words, they mean nothing. The fact that he only got an 8-game suspension the first time at the end of the regular season and then spent 96 hours in some counseling center is a disgrace. That's ridiculous. This is a serious offense for a league that takes itself very seriously with gun control. We saw Steve Kerr last year get all upset with the Uvalde thing. We spent a lot of time on that. And they like to be above the they want to be on the social right side of the social circle and political culture and all those things. And I'm all for that. But if you're going to sit there now and tell me, well, we're not going to stand for this, Adam Silver, who has a tendency to be way too friendly to the players, come down hard. I don't want to see him into January. I know that sounds hard. You cannot have your star guard waving guns the way this country is right now with guns, with people getting killed left and right all over the place. How about Texas? Have we seen that in the last month or two? And we got Ja Morant for the second time in a month and a half after that joke of a rehab thing, waving a gun in a vehicle. And then I got Silver says, well, we got to do investigating. No, you don't. We'll see you in January. 40 games. Show some toughness. Don't be friends with the player. 40 games. Show some toughness. Don't be friends with the players. Show some toughness. If you want to be considered the league that does the right thing in here is I'll see you at the halfway mark. Go to a proper rehab center. You go for 30 days. You don't go for 96 hours. You go for 30 days, which he didn't do the first time. He made the whole thing a joke the first time. And the NBA allowed that to happen. And then off he goes again. And then Silver's explanation last night to me, this seems to be serious. I was shocked. Shocked! He only gave him 10 games. He was in rehab for 10 minutes. Shocked. How could he be shocked? So I was very down on it, and he's got to go for a while. I know that's a hard thought. I said the same thing on radio. I'm not backing off it. 40 games. See you at the halfway point of the year.
When we talked about this yesterday, one of the things that I mentioned was we weren't privy to the conversations when he was first suspended. We didn't know if they had discussed another infraction, what the penalty would be. And it seems pretty clear from that conversation between Adam and Malika that actually wasn't discussed. It wasn't discussed if there was another incident. And I'll say this again, in both these gun-waving incidents on IG Live, there has been no law that's been broken, as far as we know. Colorado police investigated, no law was broken. Assuming this is in Tennessee, open carry allowed in that state, assuming he has a permit for whatever it may be, no law has been broken. The reason I bring that up, it is very clear in our CBA what happens if you fail a drug test for performance-enhancing drugs or a street drug, a narcotic. It's very clear. It's this amount of games. It's very clear if you get a certain amount of technicals or a certain amount of flagrants, how much you're going to be suspended. And so that's where I think a 40-game suspension, the precedence for that, for not breaking a law. Again, we can go into the backstory of the incident with the teenager, Ja's claiming self-defense, that the teenager threw the ball in his face. We can go into the incident at the mall when he yelled at his security guard. We can go into the incident with the Indiana Pacers traveling party. As far as we know, all of these things have been investigated and no law has been broken. I'm not condoning the behavior. I'm not saying there should be no punishment. There should be. There should be consequences. You are the face of the league. You are representing the NBA. You are a role model to young kids. All of that. I don't think half a season is the right answer. And the last point I want to make, because you bring this up, the guns on social media. We talk about consequences. Look, in our country right now, gun culture is pervasive. It's pervasive. We've got mass shooting after mass shooting, and nobody's doing a damn thing about it. So I get why we're so sensitive to this right now. But there's no consequence for Greg Abbott telling his constituents that they should go buy more guns, and then we have mass shooting after mass shooting in Texas. There's no consequence for an elected Tennessee official to send out a Christmas card holding AR-15s with his young family, and then there's a shooting in his very district. There's no consequences to that. So why are we trying to lay down the hammer on a 23-year-old who didn't break a law? Explain that to me.
I'll explain it to you. You're 1,000% right. Because that's exactly where I was going, J.J. Redick. That congressional figure that sent out Christmas cards, doggy, not just with himself and his wife, but his children holding rifles. You've got the governor of Texas spewing his rhetoric because we all know that he's in a pocket of gun lobbyists. Okay, that's right. I'm going to say it. We know that's going on. Don't get us started with the state of Florida and some of the stuff that's going on there. There is no doubt that J.J. Redick is 1,000% correct with what he said. What J.J. Redick basically said, and I'll encapsulate it this way. We're living in a country right now, and Doggy, I get it, and I appreciate your passion, and your position is consistent.
As do I.
I got it.
As do I.
I got it. I got it. I truly, truly do. I get what you're saying. This is not anybody coming at you. But it says a lot about our country when, not Mad Dog, but there's a whole bunch of people out there who are so quick to feel the way Mad Dog just expressed about a 23-year-old basketball player. But you got elected officials that don't know how to act, that incite certain kind of behaviors according to a lot of folks. We don't have to go there, but we know what I'm saying. We see this kind of stuff happening, and yet they get elected, but everybody's ready to condemn a 23-year-old that just happened to be in a car with his friend doing something very stupid and very idiotic. Ja Morant deserves to be suspended. Ja Morant deserves to be punished. That is absolutely true. But punishing somebody for the mistakes, the ill-advised decisions that they make, the immaturity is entirely different than engaging in condemnation. We want to send a message to a Ja Morant, but tens of millions of people want to elect a president, want to re-elect a former president that some have accused of inciting an insurrection that has been impeached not once, but twice, albeit in a partisan way. The fact of the matter is our country is ass backwards right now. That's really what this comes down to. And so when you say what you say, Doggy, I get where you're coming from. To me, let me tell you the biggest reason why Ja Morant should be suspended. Because he had a conversation with the commissioner. And the commissioner, what I deduced from the commissioner's conversation with Malika is, I thought we were over this. We did talk about this. We did have a conversation about how this was not a good thing to do the first go round. This was not a smart thing to do. He did allude to the fact that there were a plethora of instances that Ja Morant got himself involved in, allegedly coming out of his house with a gun after getting in a fight with some high school prospect, some little laser or whatever that was pointed in the direction of Indiana Pacers personnel. Then the suspension, 8 games, $600,000 loss because of him at the strip club in Colorado. And now this. Adam Silver gave the impression of feeling betrayed. I thought we talked about this. I thought we handled this. Now you're forcing me to take a position I never really wanted to take. I was lenient on you. I was light on you. I could have made a decision in the best interest of the game and came down hard on you the first time. But now you put me in this position. That is why. That is the reason Adam Silver should possibly have a heavy hand on Ja Morant. But it shouldn't be because Ja Morant is some criminal out there acting up and putting others in harm's way. That's not what happened here. He's a 23-year-old kid, a young man, that made a foolhardy decision and should be held accountable to it. But it shouldn't warrant the level of vitriol, not you, Doggy, that some others may feel. It shouldn't
Stephen
warrant
A.,
that.
I'm sorry. Let me get in a commercial break. I appreciate
That's
the
all I had to
open
say.
dialogue, but we got to get a break in here. When we come back here on First Take, some more basketball to get into. The Warriors say they never really recovered from the fight between Draymond and Jordan Poole.